Okay, we're now officially in the meeting. So again, thank you all for coming. On the agenda, having done the introductions, the next item were a couple of hints and tips for which I'm going to share my screen just briefly. So let me do that. Oops. And the items for this afternoon were I guess they're going to be there we go. So I was going to talk about planning applications, which until Andrew pointed them out to me, I had no idea existed in South Somerset in the way that they do. And I thought I might just show them to you in case they're of interest to you, those of you from other district councils. So on their planning application page, there is a tab marked map. And I'm not going to click on that because it's actually quite slow in getting going, but I am going to show you the next picture, which is, I hope that's showing up.
Graham, I think you're showing the wrong screen at the moment.
Nothing showing on the screen?
No, I can see Firefox with the Zoom stuff on it, but I can't see anything else.
Yeah, same with me.
That's showing the wrong screen. Sorry, beg your pardon. That is very sad, isn't it? Bear with me one second whilst we just play around with this. All right, let me stop sharing and try sharing again. That's better.
Yeah,
good. All right, so let me go back. I do apologize. Back on South Somerset's planning application page, you can search for any planning application. And they have a tab which is marked map. And just to show you what that looks like, I'm moving to the next screen because it takes a while to get there. Having said that, we need to go there. And this is the map of Long Sutton, which is where I happen to be. And I've just highlighted a specific application here and clicked on it, and up it comes with the application. And if you click on the details, you go to the page that has all the documents on it. So that's one new thing I just wanted people to recognize, because I had frankly no idea that you could do that on map. There was a point, which I don't know if it's still valid, which Andrew discovered the hard way, that this doesn't work with Firefox. Works beautifully with Chrome, and I assume it works with Bing or whatever Microsoft are calling their Internet Explorer nowadays, but as of a week ago, it didn't work with Firefox. Now, there are other ways of looking at applications online, and I've got 3 of them just to show people, all of which are represented on the PUG's website. So if I go there, hopefully, on the examples page, there's how do you distribute planning applications with multiple hyperlinks, which is a technique that Chris developed in Richard, beg pardon. And he comes up with a PDF file with the various buildings highlighted, and you click on the appropriate page again to bring up the relevant details from your district council. Or we could go the route that Long Sutton chose, which is to extract everything as part of a public map. This happens to be the same place that we were looking at on the Taunton page, or sorry, South Somerset page. And it brings up in public map the parish online data entry, which is good. And we have a link there directly to this particular application on South Somerset page. And so you can click on any one of the colors on the map and it brings you to the rather appropriate page. And then we have the technique that was pioneered by Compton Dundon, which is listed on the PUGS page under clinics. And on the video timeline here, you can see that how they do planning applications is at minute 22:05. Just to save you all time, I've gone to minute 22:05, and then you get a full description here of how Compton Dundon looks after their planning applications. Basically, the whole idea is how do you make these things readily available to other councillors? And there's 3 ways that we've discovered of doing them, and doubtless everyone else does it to their own satisfaction, but hopefully these are ideas that you may decide you wish to use. So we're all using Parish Online. Some of them are using the public map episode, others are using just straightforward print and export. And everything is outlined on how to do it on the PUGS pages. So those are the 2 items on the agenda for today. We're now going to move straight on to the guest speaker, who is Chris, the CEO of Geosphere, the company behind Parish Online. And so, Chris, I leave it all to you. Good luck.
Thanks. I need a lot of luck when I do presentations. Hi, everyone. Nice to see you all here. I have a few things on my list that I'd like to sort of share with you, and then I'd like a little bit of feedback as well. But the first thing would be on those planning application methods of how you've been putting things together. I think that's quite useful, and especially with Paul on the call, that's something that we're working on at the moment behind the scenes, so that the information that's held by that system that you showed, Graham, can feed from that system into Parish Online directly to you. So when you log into Parish Online, you'll be able to get that information. So that should reduce any any need to duplicate that information by drawing it again into Parish Online yourself, or recreating it in some way. So that's certainly something we're looking at.
I have a question. There are, on the South Somerset District Council version, there are filters that you can set for days or months or whatever. Can we do the same thing once it comes through?
Yeah, we should be able to add a thing on for that. We've got a simple filter at the moment that would filter it based on whether it's a current application or one that's previously gone through. We could look at other filters as well. What would you want?
Well, we have 4. So we've got awaiting decision, which is in our case purple. We've got refuse, which is red. We've got under appeal, which is tan, and we've got permission approved, which is green.
Yeah, that'd be fine.
So 4 choices there, but I really liked the idea of removing clutter with the South Somerset filter of saying show only the last 6 months or show only the open applications, whichever one you wanted.
Yeah, so out of the box, we'd be able to show one that says open, and so that would filter it to all the open ones. But then you'd be able to switch it around to filter it to ones that are rejected or whatever you like.
Okay.
That's probably one of the biggest pieces that Paul and I have got to do behind the scenes to work on the data. So when we start getting data shared into Parish Online on a larger scale, then applications are going to come in there. Paul, have you got any update on that you want to share rather than me just?
Just some positive news since I was last on a call. We've finally sort of had the go ahead to sort of move forward with XMAP, which is great.
Yes.
It's so it's a big relief to myself, and just glad it's happening now. But just so you sort of got a rough idea of our plans, we currently have some mapping software that we're using in-house that we need to get rid of pretty quickly. like in the next few months. So say now we've got the go ahead, that is going to be our priority initially. It was just to get our users away from that and using XMAP for their sort of checking, planning constraints and all that sort of thing. But once we've got that, once we've got everybody off of those old out of date systems, then yeah, I mean that will be sort of linking up with Parish Online will be definitely on the agenda. I'm not sure how soon. Like I say, I don't really know how much is involved as well, which obviously Chris can sort of help us with. But yeah, it's definitely part of the plan. And we will be, because we have to, that system you're looking at, that public access, so that's coming straight out of our planning system. But we do intend to sort of automatically update XMAP and therefore Parish Online, hopefully, with those planning application details as well. So, and like Chris showed, I'll have a link into public access, so it'll be easy to yeah, it'll be easy for you to see them. So yeah, does that make sense?
Makes sense.
Yeah. I have a question for you, Paul.
Yeah.
Bearing in mind that there are people on the call who from other districts than South Somerset, what influence do you have over the other districts to persuade them this is a brilliant idea?
Yeah, I'm not sure how much influence other than sort of, yeah, I don't know, sort of word of mouth, like if we get into conversations with them. But yeah, I'll have to, yeah, I don't know. I'll do my best for sure.
We're working on Mendip to see if we can get that.
Mendip's hand is up.
Malcolm, are you trying to speak because you're muted?
I was being polite, been muted. Sorry. I've just been into Mendip planning site, and that trick works with Mendip as well. In fact, the actual layout of their planning system seems to be almost identical to South Somerset's.
Yeah, so that's
is that likely to mean what's going on behind the scenes is very similar as well?
So the planning system that South Somerset and Mendip use is called iDocs, and it's probably used by about 75% of local authorities around the country. They implement it in a number of different ways. So the fact that they've got a similar system there is probably the default way of doing it. So you'll see that a lot of the time. In terms of mapping data, like I deem planning application data as mapped data, all local authorities, because they use the same software, are having the same problem. And it's that the iDocs system is quite a closed shop when it comes to data sharing. So there's no way to access that information easily to share it out to different systems. And they've been very clever about it because that's how they've got their market share and got everyone under their spell. But the bad news is it makes things a lot harder to share that data out to other systems. So that's something that I know a lot of local authorities are lobbying that particular company to tell them to pull their finger out and make things more accessible.
If you've done it once for South Somerset, does that mean that it's readily usable for the others? I mean, once you've cracked the issue, can you just use the same technique with all of them?
No, not necessarily. They've all got different implementations as well. So no, it's done. So other local authorities are able to take the data out, but depending on how it's configured and how it's installed at that particular local authority, means there's different ways that it has to be sort of manipulated to get it out in a sensible way, which is a bit of a shame. But yeah, something we're working on.
Come back on that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, go on.
You have, of course, already got planning applications on our Mendip data sharing set.
Yeah, it's not as up to date as it should be. And that's one of the inherent problems with that, is we want to get that onto a faster update process.
Right.
I'm talking to the guys there about that. Okay. Just to get an idea of what I ramble on about, how many of you are currently Parish Online users and how many are new? I assume you're all users at the moment?
Ansford Parish have actually subscribed in June this year, and we're just sort of getting to grips with putting all our inventory and data onto Parish Online using all the layers available. So we are newcomers, but we are progressing reasonably well.
Excellent. Nice to have you on, and yeah, good to see that. I remember that coming in during the summer.
Yeah, thank you.
Great. Well, what I'll do is I've just got a few things just to talk about, which are kind of new and a bit different. So it'll be useful for all of you to understand, really, which I think Graham's covered before in some of them, but I just want to sort of reiterate it and then have a quick discussion on it. If I share my screen, I'm allowed to. Is that sharing through okay?
Yep.
Yep.
Right, if I just log in here. Okay. Most of you all understand, know about the parish layers that you can add in yourself. So when you want to add your own information to Parish Online, you can use parish layers. Hopefully you're all aware of that.
Yep.
And Chris, as well, if you should be aware of the asset register if you're plotting things into
Indeed,
your account.
yes.
Excellent. So the difference between the parish layers and the asset register is that the parish layer is basically a free-for-all. You can create whatever named layer you like and load it into your account and then put whatever information in you like. With the asset register, we've kind of pre-configured it. So we've applied all the styling to it. We've set all the categories and fields up for it. So you can sort of get away and start using it straight away. What we're looking at doing is adding some more of these into Parish Online. And there's 3 examples that I've got now, which are all available in your account straight away for you to go and play with. And the idea is trying to not just collect information for yourself, well, use the information for yourself, but also share it out to neighbouring local councils. And you'll find this under national layers on the left-hand side. So this name might change, by the way, but it'll be roundabout in that same location. We've loaded 3 already, 2 relating to allotments, and 1 of them related to cemeteries. And so what I'd like to do is just show you what they are and then get a little bit of feedback from you on how you might use these layers, if at all. And you have to be honest with us. So the first one I just want to show you is allotment boundaries. So what we've done is we've loaded up a rough guess, and you can do this as well. You can zoom out to the entire country. You might be able to see this. All this kind of dust on my screen are allotment boundaries.
Wow.
And so this is for the whole country. And if I zoom back into my area, have a look in your area and see what's already in there and see whether it correlates to the allotment sites that you have in your area. So let me go into this one here. So in a typical fashion, this is probably here's one I've made earlier, but this is in here now, ready for me to use as information. So I no longer need to create my own allotment layer. It's already here. If I need to show people where our allotments are in our parish, I can just add to this layer. And if it's one that's already existing, I can click on it and go into the editing tool, the editing option for it, and I can add extra information about it. So if I come into it and say, well, actually the geometry or the shape of this is wrong, I can come in and change that shape. So I can go and make adjustments to it as I like until I'm happy with that. And then I can also change the name of it. So I can say, well, actually, it's not called Andover Road allotments. It's called, it is, spell my own name. Chris's Andover Road allotments. And then you'll notice that below that, we've also got other information like land use. So is it actually used for allotments at the moment? Or is it currently used as grazing? Or is it completely disused? Or is it one that we'd like to be a new allotment area? So you can choose a category there. And this one is active allotments. And then all of this other information is what we're hoping to do is rely on your local knowledge to populate this information. So you're the best people to be able to do this because you are local to the area and you've got the best chance of knowing. So what other information can you plot in here? So is it run by a limited company or is it unincorporated? These might be things we have to go and work out. Is it self-managed? So do you all set plots between you, or is it let directly through the council? How is it managed? What are the lease terms on it? I'm not going to go over all of these, but any information that you can add into it will be valuable. So has it got a fence? Has it got disabled access? Are there toilets on site? So we're not just plotting the boundaries of where these allotments are, which is useful, but we're also putting a lot more information into this. Now, the idea for this layer is that you use it for your own purposes. It means that you've got a good record of allotment sites and potential allotment sites in your village, and you can quickly just log into Parish Online, load it up and have a look at it. But we are also using you for this. So what we're doing is we've teamed up with the National Allotment Society and they've given us these criteria. Now, basically, the National Allotment Society are there to promote the use of allotments, lobby governments, try and get funding from the lottery, trying to get allotments used in all parts of the country. And what they don't know is where they are, what their name is, what condition they're in, and what stuff they've got on site. And so that's something that you could actually help with. So my ask is if you can go and have a look at this layer and go and add information into it if you think there's information missing, or if you think there's errors in what's already there, that would be really useful. So this is the beginning of what could be a sort of crowdsourced layer for the whole country that you can use and the National Allotment Society can use. And I will just say that we are not making you collect all this information just so we can sell it. That's not our intention. We're not going to be selling this data. It's open source data between you and the Allotment Society. But yeah, that's the idea behind it.
So, Chris, that's all the information you're gathering on the boundary layer. Is there any more different information on the plots?
Yeah, so the plots, as you can see, we've got another layer here. So again, we know a lot of parishes create their own plots layer, but what we're suggesting with this is you can use this new layer that we've created. And so if I switch that one on, now the plot's a little bit different. So this is not going to be a collaborative layer that where you can see other parishes' allotment plots. Now, the reason we're not doing that is because we want you to give you the freedom to be able to put in the name or the contact details of the people who are currently holding those plots. And if that information was just splattered over Parish Online, then we've got potential GDPR issues. So when I draw information into the boundaries layer, it is shared to everyone else in Parish Online. When I add information into the plots layer, it's not shared to everyone in Parish Online. So I can confidently go into the plots layer here and give it my own ID. This doesn't have to be a sort of nationally applied ID. It's just one that I'm going to make up. So it's going to be CM01. It's currently occupied. Its renewal date is next March. Current holder is Graham. His phone number is, put my own phone number in, whatever, details, email address, whatever you like, into there, and click save. And then that's in on the map. And actually it's put the ID on there. We've colored those up. So if it's occupied, it's red. If it's vacant, it's green. If it's not fit for use, so if there's a problem with it, then it goes into a kind of amber, and it's gray if I haven't put that information in. So that gives me a good opportunity to sort of draw out all of the plots in one session in Parish Online. And then when I've got more energy, I can come back and add the tenant information into it. So it gives you a nice way of managing the plots. And you can see I haven't drawn these very well, but again, you can improve that over time if you want to.
Can I just ask a quick question?
Yeah, go on.
Are these statutory allotments that you've got on here?
So,
or, yeah.
The
only reason I ask is because one of my councils has got church allotments, and Brimpton actually leases a local field, so they're not statutory allotments. So I just wondered if they would be on there.
So you can put whatever allotment sites on there you like.
Right, fair enough. Thank you.
That's kind of what we're after here. We're not looking for you to conform to some national standard of how you want to do it. We're controlling it in a certain way in the information you can add in, but actually we're giving you a lot of freedom to say where you want to do it. Because between you and the Allotment Society, we kind of want to promote good use of allotments. So if there's one being used that's ecclesiastical or civil, a civic allotment site, then put it on there. Yeah, we'd like to see it. So I can go, say for example, this is going to be a silly example, but all of my demos include silly examples. So the parish council has been able to buy up someone's tennis court to turn into allotments. So I'll start that again. I'm going to go to the allotment map boundaries. I'm going to add a feature. I'm going to draw around the area. And I'm going to put as the land use that this is a provisional or proposed allotment. It's obviously not an allotment yet. And this is going to be called the tennis court. Tennis court allotments. And I'll leave all the other stuff there for later. And I can put that in there. You'll be able to log into Parish Online, zoom into this area and see that information now. So yes, whether it's a church one or whether it's a civil one or whatever it is, you can add it in there. It's a layer that's designed to benefit you for your use. So if you want to put in those, go for it. I'm going to delete this one actually, because I'll forget about it and it'll be there forever. Okay, so allotment boundaries and allotment plots, go and use that for your own purposes. And Graham's shown it to you in this user group session before. So there has been some activity already on it, which is great. But we'd like to get a little bit more engagement with it, because we're going to be having a few sessions with the Allotment Society, and they're going to be sort of not verifying the information, but just trying to get it running as a project.
It's on the plots version, where we're filling in our own private data. Is there room for more information on the database, like fields like the earning power of that allotment, what the rate is? Because the Art Council is very keen to know whether the land is earning enough or not.
Yeah, if there are things missing from this that you want included, send us a support email with what you want and we'll add it in.
Okay, thank you.
Because yeah, it's a kind of bare bones thing at the moment, and we didn't want to add a billion things into it because it sort of overloads it. We just wanted to put some simple things in there and add them by exception. So yeah, if they're not in there, then let us know.
And are we able to add attachments? I couldn't see down the bottom of your.
Yep. So just like
Just
just like any other layer, you can add attachments to it.
Great.
Yeah, there's no problem there at all.
Because we keep copies of the leases and the lease agreements and so forth.
Yeah, so that can be added in there.
Brilliant.
Okay, the final one, I'll try and keep this one brief, but it's exactly the same concept as the allotment boundaries, but it's for cemeteries. So again, don't get this confused with individual cemetery plots, because we haven't done that with this system yet. This is just for cemeteries as a whole. And so if I zoom into here, let's put the photography back on. Again, you'll see that there'll be lots of cemeteries already added into Parish Online. And what we'd like you to do is go and have a look in your area, see where there are what omissions to this database. So if you see there's a church cemetery site, please go and add it in. And if there's a civic one, then also add it in as well. And by the same measure, you can change the shape of it if the shape looks wrong. And you can put the name, who it's operated by, whether it's got a religious designation, whether it's in use or disused, and its capacity. But this is kind of a long-term project, so we're not going to put everything in at the moment. So yeah, the same thing with the cemetery map boundaries. So it'd be really good if you could have a look at that, and if we can get some feedback on it, that'd be great.
Is there an upper layer of liaison between you and somebody on this one?
Yes. So I can never remember the actual name of them, but it's essentially the body that works. What are they called? Institute of Cemetery Management. But there's an extra C in there somewhere. It's really embarrassing. I can't remember what it is. But yes, so we're working with them as well. And a particularly interesting time for them as well, because the provision of cemetery sites and the use of cemetery sites is important in terms of capacity. So yeah, they're interested in seeing whether you as a group of parishes and them as a body can work together to end up with good mapping data for this. So that's our just a bit of an overview of how we're moving from Parish Online being used as a individual tool for your own private use into one that could be used as a more collaborative tool between you and neighbouring councils. Yes, Malcolm. Microphone. Can you unmute yourself?
Sorry. By cemeteries, I presume you mean cemeteries, stroke, burial grounds, etc.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
So just wanted to clear that up.
Chris, I was just wondering, can a parish just sort of edit or add in their own parish, or can it be anywhere?
It can be anywhere. So we haven't limited this geographically yet. So if you as a parish clerk knew of one that was right on your border over here, then by all means add it. It's there, you can add. These layers can actually be shared to district and county councils as well. So it could be something that is collaborated on at district and county level as well. And yeah, it's basically, we're going to start off with no real restrictions and make it as a kind of free-for-all editing layer. And if it starts to get messy, we can put controls in there and more structure to it. But we wanted to not restrain it too much in the first instance. And we think this is a really good example of how parish councils can add information to the map and districts can add information into the map, and for it to be the same layer. It's not owned by one organisation, it's shared between a number of different bodies. And this is certainly a trend that we're going to be seeing over the next decade or so, really, in the way we manage mapping data. So this is our first little footstep into this. Okay, any questions on that?
Yeah, can I just take you back to allotments? Sorry, Chris.
Yeah, that's right.
When that sort of first got announced and Graham mentioned it, I did say virtually that day we'd had an inquiry from the county public health about allotment use. So
Yeah.
are you sharing access to that information to the counties as well?
We can share it to the counties if they want it, yes. We're a bit scared of parishes thinking we're using them as lemmings to create data that we can then go and sell, and I can go and buy my Aston Martin with. That's not our intention. We are not doing that. So we are only going to be releasing this data to you and your peers at local council level, to districts and counties if they want to get in on the experiment, and to carefully selected associations or bodies like the National Allotment Society, or with the cemeteries, perhaps the Ministry of Justice, who actually have oversight over burial grounds. So yeah, we're going to be very careful with that, make it open and transparent in terms of what we're doing, but not make it a free-for-all so that, you know, a member of the public can come in and wreck it, for example. So yeah, that's what we're doing. But yeah, this layer is available for you to use as much as you like, extract information from it if you choose, but it would be great if you could put us in touch with them so that we can give them a live access to it rather than having to share copies of it, because that's a very old school way of doing things. Cheers. And Graham?
Yeah, what's your objection to Aston Martins, Chris?
I really like Aston Martins, but I don't earn enough money to be able to afford one. And if I was being unscrupulous, I could start selling your data. But I'm not going to do that, and that's why I drive a Hyundai. But so that's that. Yeah, so that's our kind of national map scheme. And so if you start seeing things about national maps, that's what we're talking about here. So we'll start doing some more publicity on that through our newsletters and through our social media and things to the wider Parish Online user base. But I thought it'd be good to show you guys first how we're using it. And please just go and start using it. It's ready to go and use, and we need that initial feedback on it, like Graham, like you're saying about the plots. So that's useful info to get back. Okay. Should we move on from national maps? How much time have we got, Graham?
This is usually a free-for-all, Chris.
Okay.
People come and go as they wish, but
Okay.
so that's up to you.
Okay, well, that's fine. Right, next on my list is actually more of a poll. So there is a feature in Parish Online where, let me do this here. Hopefully all of you are aware that you can switch on this address layer and see all of the address points in your parish area. And we know that some parishes have used this to extract that information to use in mail shots, whether it's mailing out to people or just creating another spreadsheet to do maybe some COVID support work, where basically it's easy to do. You click on your parish region and then you go to data extract, and then you extract the addresses and you run it, and it comes back with, great, you found 2,531 address records in that parish, which you can then export to a CSV file or a spreadsheet file. So I'm just going to show you that. So that's what you can do. And you've got all the postal addresses in there ready for you to spin them off into a mail merge or a mail shot out to people if you need to. So that's really good on a wide, a big scale if you're doing the whole parish area, but it can also be used for smaller areas. So I was doing an example recently where I wanted to extract, just switch the addresses off because they're actually quite distracting. So if I wanted to know all of the addresses within this radius, within the circle, I can do the same thing where I can do data extract on the addresses, run it, and it comes back with 50 results. So if I just needed to mail shop those guys, then I can do that as well. Double-headed question. 1, did you all know that was possible? And 2, if you did know, have you used it? And actually, there's a third one. And the third one is, what did you use it for? Because it's quite a generic tool. It's quite a useful tool, we think, but we're not sure if people understand it exists and how you can use it. So mic's open, free for all, go for it. Go on, Graham.
So we did exactly what you suggested, Chris. We highlighted the whole of our parish. We exported all the addresses to a spreadsheet and passed it to, in our case, the Women's Institute for use with their COVID-19 protection system. Those people who needed help, where they lived, and where the nearest person who was offering help also lived, and they found it very useful.
Okay, so you extract that information to share with the WI, and then they kind of tagged addresses that needed assistance.
Yes, in Long Sutton, it's the WI who took on the task of providing help to those people who needed it. So people who wanted help would call in, their address was given, they could then highlight that address on the address sheet, and the people who volunteered to help, you could find the nearest one. I myself would prefer to have actually done it all online on Parish Online, but the WI wasn't using that.
Yeah. So was it physically printed off and you had like a little highlighter going around it, or it was on a spreadsheet?
It was on a spreadsheet.
Okay, all right. Okay, that's useful. The reason I ask this is because we're looking at how we expose these tools and how we sort of communicate how they can be used. And we find it really hard because there's loads of different things you could use it for. So trying to find the way of describing it is quite difficult. As you can tell, I'm struggling. Has anyone else had any experience of using that extract tool?
I was aware of it, but haven't used it.
How rude. No, okay,
The
fine.
At least I'm honest.
Yeah, exactly. Well, so Malcolm, how now you know it exists, you knew it exists. Are there times in your kind of council management when you think that taking that information out for a particular area would be useful?
I think so, yes. The problem I've got is that I've got a clerk who's something of a technophobe.
Occasionally.
I say no more.
Okay.
From Ansford Parish, we've actually played around with the option to use it. We haven't actually used it officially to send out flyers to those people. So we know about it, but we haven't used it.
Okay, that's good. Thanks for that. Because what we'd like to do is maybe get together kind of write up a little case study of how it's been used in a few different examples that we can publish on the website, maybe do a dedicated video to, and see if we can get shared out through our newsletter and things, just so people are more aware of its existence. And how
I think video is very helpful, Chris, especially for the type of person I was talking about just now, technophobes.
Yeah.
Because reading through and trying to interpret what you're reading onto a map is rather different to seeing a video of how it's done.
Mm. Yeah.
Especially for less experienced people.
Yeah, because you can kind of just follow the mouse and copy what they're doing, can't you?
But can we have it at a slower speed than you did it though, Chris, so we can keep up, please?
I do things quite fast, don't I? Sorry. Should I do a new one?
No.
No, I'll wait for the video.
Oh, thanks for the vote of confidence.
I think as a point in general, not for us that are the converted people, but for people who are trying to get interested in Parish Online in general, I think a lot more videos will be very, very helpful.
Okay. Starting from the very basics.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
Almost a video user guide, if you like.
Yeah.
In sections.
Yeah, we're starting to put together our cunning plan for what we do next year and what we spend our time doing. And little intro videos and little explainer videos are definitely up on our list.
Yeah.
And it's a really depressing thing to think about and do, because even though we're there trying to promote our software and it's completely worthwhile us doing, as soon as we've done one, a few weeks later, we update the software and all out of date again.
All out of date.
But that's just something we've got to deal with. Perhaps we should be less productive and stop updating the website so much. But yeah, it's something we'll definitely put in a plan to make some good little explainers. Go on, Graham, sorry.
So, no, just like saying that I run a demo session every Monday for Pugs, and I started sending your 1 minute and 45-second introductory video out with all the emails saying, come to the session. And I have to say, it has been quite effective in bringing more people in.
Okay.
So, so that little 1 minute 45-second one you do is brilliant, I think, for showing dubious counsellors how they could be using the system to advantage.
No, that's good. And it's really hard to gauge. How long do you make that video? What's people's attention span?
Well, exactly. But that one is great for attracting their attention in the first place.
Yeah.
And I think that if you are, say, the parish clerk and you're trying to persuade your dubious counsellors that this is a good idea, then I think that little introduction is about all you're going to get away with in a parish meeting.
Yeah.
But just as feedback to you at the moment, I do think that the quality of the videos you produce is first class. Just do more of them and more topics, and keep up to date. Keep going.
Yeah.
I think as Malcolm says, that you need that sort of chunk and the ability to stop and pause, because I've been putting a new bike together. No, that's not an invitation to come and nick it. The American website, sort of the support website, has little 2-minute videos on virtually every little part to it, and every bit that you do. So I looked at it, and then got the bit that I wanted, and then went through it sort of in real time, pausing as I needed to be able to do it. And I think that would be the same for this sort of exercise you've just gone through.
Now, the interesting point there is there's a difference in the video between showing you how to tighten up the brakes to how you use the brakes. And that's something we also have a problem with. So if we're doing a video to explain how to use Parish Online, I could explain that you click there and you draw a shape. But why have you drawn a shape? That's also something that we struggle to get over sometimes, is, well, why the hell should I use Parish Online? Okay, that's a very good question. And all I've done is I've explained it how you use Parish Online. I haven't explained why. And that's why we've been spending a lot of time trying to build up those case studies on our case study page. So if you've got any mundane to the extraordinary ideas on what you've been using Parish Online for, then we're all ears, because we can help you write up a little case study for it, maybe even do a little video to go alongside it, so that we've got why you use Parish Online. We find that really important. Go on, Graham.
So we've likened it to moving everything out of the locked and dusty filing cabinet somewhere in the back of the village hall, which no one can get into because the key has been lost. And anyway, the whole thing is buried under last summer's fates equipment, to making it available to anybody on the account or anyone with a user account 24/7. And that has rung some bells in some people's minds, because every now and again you get to certainly if you look back through the minutes of past parish meetings, they say, councillor so-and-so asked whether this, that and t'other, and the clerk said, I will have to go and look it up, which may or may not have happened by the time the next parish council came round. So, or the meeting came round. So we found that just bringing everything online and making it much more accessible any time of the day or night it makes sense to council.
Yeah, okay, information accessibility, that's a very good point. Yeah, and we sometimes get caught up in the map element of it, but actually it's the information, isn't it? It's printed on the map, but it's there available to you.
One of the sort of little working groups that's going on is a neighbourhood plan for us at the moment, and I think I sort of frightened them when I said, you know, everything, all the questions you'd thrown up about, you know, listed buildings or public space or whatever, were all different layers on Parish Online. All they needed to do was actually go and click a few layers, and that would give it more. And the one thing that I didn't realise, now you brought it up, would the listed buildings come up? Would that be something that we could extract into a data file as well?
Yeah, it would be. So listed buildings are there. So let's draw another little annotate. Well, actually, I could do it just based on the whole boundary again.
Yeah.
And instead of using the address space points, I'm just going to type in listed buildings.
Buildings, and up they come.
Run it. And there they go.
Yeah. Brilliant.
So yeah, very good use of it. What I could do while we're just talking about this neighbourhood plans, because it's got a perfect segue into my next point I wanted to share.
Do I get an Aston Martin for that then?
It's close, isn't it? Tell you what, we'll go halves on it.
Never work.
I just want just an old DB7, just nothing fancy. So we've been helping, basically helping them with a bit of support. A parish council down the road from where we live, and they've bought Parish Online to do their neighbourhood plan. And what they've been doing is brilliant, really. So it was instigated from the fact that there was a kind of planning application in principle put in to basically increase the number of dwellings in this parish by about 10. I think they were going to put a good few thousand extra homes in. So they went into battle stations mode and started to put together their plan. And so they've just been adding these layers in. Some of them are duplicate layers that they should be getting from Basingstoke Council, but it's fine. Nothing needs to be perfect here. They're just building things up. But they've been putting things like views in, so things where they want to protect different views, and they've just drawn them as triangles on the map. There are current TPOs, which they could also get from Basingstoke and Dean. Their conservation area, the local gap that's between the M3 and their village, settlement boundary, green spaces, priority habitat. I'm going to start accelerating. They've started to load up all of these layers just by drawing bits on the map and styling them up differently to build up a picture of what they do and don't want in their village. And we think it's brilliant because firstly, I've got a vested interest because I cycle through here and it's lovely and I don't want any houses in there. But from their point of view, they're going to be able to say, here's our local gap layer, and either print this off or turn it into a public map and include it as part of their neighbourhood plan document. Because that is an extremely visual way of explaining what they mean by the local gap. They mean a piece of nice land that sits between them and the village and the M3 and the rest of Basingstoke to stop the bleed of houses out of Basingstoke. So, Rich, when you're doing your neighbourhood plan...
No. Clerks don't rush to do neighbourhood plans. That's somebody else's job.
When some poor old bugger's got to do their neighbourhood plan,
isn't it, Jenny?
The document is there as the pros, as the kind of evidence, and then the Parish Online maps are there as the evidence assist. There is the
Can I-
supplemental
Can I
information.
jump in?
Come in, Andrew.
Can I jump in as a poor old bugger who's just done an overview?
Yeah.
We've done exactly this. It's just the same.
Brilliant.
I have one technical issue. Down there on your left-hand side, you've now got an awful lot of layers.
Yes.
And we've got about 40. And it's a question of how to organize those layers that's beginning to become a problem.
Yes, we've got a few development items on our list to tackle this. I'm going to say it's kind of medium level priority at the moment. And the reason is you are an exception for having that number of layers on there. And it's a tricky one. So there's a trade-off between creating a new layer for a different thing and creating a layer that's then got different categories within it.
Yes.
And that can reduce the number of layers that you have. I mean, what they've got there is kind of right, but they've got two boundaries and local gaps that could potentially be one, I'm not sure. Or historic buildings, they've got as two, but should probably be one, and then categorized as within or without, as a class, so that you can visualize the difference between the two, but not have to have it as two layers. So yes, it's not useful me telling you that.
The problem there, though, Chris, is that often you want to use one of those layers in combination with some other layers, but you don't want to use both of them. Then how do you deal with that?
So I would deal with that with filtering. So if I just log back into parishes, so that is how I would tackle it. But it's no use me telling you that after it's been done, because you've got it now. But yeah, over time we'll end up with a fix that will help you organize those layers a bit better. So let me just show an example of what I mean by filters. So if I've got my support areas here, now I could have had one layer for support areas 1, one layer for support areas 2, 3, etc. But I've got them all in as one, and I'm styling them differently based on the information stored within them. By doing that, if I click on the cog as if I was going to add a new feature or go to the styling, there's another one here called filter. And I can say, well, actually, I only want to see zone numbers 1. Or actually, let's go for zone numbers 2 and save that. And it will hide the other 2 or anything else. So it'll only show me objects that have a 2 in them. And you can see you've got a little filter indicator there to show that it's a filtered layer. And so that could go some way to helping you go, right, I'm going to show all of the support areas 2, and then I'm going to do another map which is showing all of them. So that might help you. Yeah, it's a functionality that's a little bit nuanced. It's not immediately obvious in there.
Okay. Can you do multiple filters? So if you wanted layers 2 and 3, is there a way of putting that into the filter?
We've started off with 1 for now, so currently only 1. But yes, that's certainly our intention, is to be able to add extra ones in there. Yeah, so that's something there. And it kind of leads me on to the public map. And I just wanted to, it's been live now for 4 or 5 months, maybe. I just wanted to know whether any of you have used it. I know you have, Graham, and so maybe you could share what you've been using it for. But seeing, A, again, whether you're aware that it exists, and B, whether you've found it useful for anything, whether you put it into a website. It's probably going to be a resounding no.
Well, actually, I use public maps in the demo sessions to show people what's possible. And you may recall that we did a case history of how do you build a village school without killing all the school children.
Yeah.
And that was fabulous, and that went up on our village website. So not only are we aware of public mapping, but we actually think it's a brilliant tool. And I showed you earlier today the planning applications, which has had a resounding success with the parish council. They all think it's brilliant.
Good.
So
That's good.
a great use of, I think Public Map myself is one of your best tools, along with the print function. I think the print is brilliant, but Public Maps is great.
I'll just show you a few examples of what it's been used for. And we've seen this on a lot of parish council websites where they've got a really dodgy screenshot of Google Maps that they've pasted into their website to show where their village is. But what you can do is use Parish Online to embed a map of it. So that's what Cox Green has done here. So instead of having a screenshot of their area, which is a moment in time, they've got an interactive map that any member of the public can come in and go, oh, right, okay, so it's there, and it's, okay, well, that's it's on the motorway there, and where does it go over here? I thought, they can go, oh, all right, I thought I was in Cox Green as well, but no, I'm on the border. And it's zoomable, just like Parish Online is, so it can take you down to a decent zoom level. So it's a lot more interactive and useful as a view than a static map for your website. So we'd certainly recommend you trying this. Very easy to do through Parish Online. And if you like, and if we've got time, I can quickly show you how to do that. Yeah, all right, let's do it.
Yeah.
Okay, so see how quickly I can do it. So if we're just doing one for the parish boundary, I'm going to go to the admin panel with the cog in the top right and go to administration. Wait for that to load up. Oh no, it's loaded up and all my layers are there. And then on the left-hand side, we've got a thing called public maps, which I'm going to click on. And you can see I've been messing around with this a lot. I've got quite a few already. I'm going to click on add. And now it's going to guide me through a process of helping me make this public map. So I'm going to say whether I want aerial photography, detailed mapping, or some basic mapping as the background for it. Let's go for the detailed mapping. Go to next. Now I get to choose from a list. I'm sort of going to click these, which is going to push them over into this right-hand side. I'm going to click the layers that I want to include in this public map. And I don't want any of my layers in this. Just like Cox Green, I just want the parish boundary. So I'm going to leave this and go to next. Now it's asking me to select other layers, and the parish boundary is in other layers. So alphabetically, I'm going to scroll down, just click on parish, and it's going to push it over onto the right-hand side. So that's now selected. My next step is to set my start area. And I'm going to leave that as it is because by default, it's going to set it to your parish boundary. We can always come back and tweak this later if it looks a bit weird. So I'm going to leave that and just click next. Now I'm going to give it a name. So this is going to be my website parish location. Now I'm going to give it a good name because later on, if I come into the admin panel and go into public maps and I'm going to see one that's called Chris Test, I'm going to go, well, that's a load of crap, and I'm going to delete it. And then it's going to delete it on your website as well. So I'm going to give it a good descriptive name so that my future self doesn't go and cock it up. Right, now I've got some options for here, and this is going to be a very simple map, just like the Cox Green one. So I don't need the member of the public to have a layer control. And I don't need them to be able to info click anything on the map. And do I let them have a postcode search? Yeah, I'll let them have a postcode search, that's fine. And it's going to have the parish layer switched on by default. So I can have a load of layers there, but they might not be switched on. In this case, I'm going to have them switched on. And click next. And that is done. So I can preview what I've done. by going to preview here. It shows me my public map, and that's pretty much exactly as the Cox Green one was showing, wasn't it? And so now I've got a link. So when Graham talks about sharing his planning application stuff with his colleagues, he's talking about sharing this link here, which if I loaded that up into all the Zoom stuff gets in the way of my tab. If I load that up in a browser, it's going to come up with that public map in a full screen. But what I can do, going back to Parish Online, is I can, it's also automatically generated this code, which is an iframe, which is, how far do we go? This is the HTML code, the code that makes up websites that I can put into my parish website. So if you're not au fait with editing websites, then give this to either someone who's more adept at it, or if you're up for it yourself, give it a go. It's a case of pasting this into the source code of your website. And that's it. You'll see along here, there's little bits of detail I can show you. So this code isn't very scary. All it's doing is it's defining how tall the map's going to be on the website, and whether it's going to be the full width of the website, or whether it's only going to cover a certain portion of it. So yeah, it looks scary, but actually is quite simple to use. And that's exactly what Cox Green have done here. They've just put that code into the website, and there it is.
So Chris, is there an advantage towards using the code rather than just putting in the hyperlink to the address?
Yes. So if Cox Green had just pasted the link in here,
yeah,
then you're making the visitor to your website take another step. You're making them go to this web page which says, look at where Cox Green is, and then you're making them click on that page.
Yeah.
Whereas if you use the code to embed it in there, the job's done. They can immediately see what you're on about.
Okay.
Go on.
Well, yes. Could you go back and just show us an example of the public being able to switch a layer on or off? Because I've not seen that.
Yeah. So let's use one that I've already. Here's one I've made earlier, style. There's one called Many Layers. So you can see in this one, the base map I'm using is the open data, and I've got, actually that's a crap one. Here we go. So in this example, I've got, it brings up this layer control here.
Right.
And this one is showing the flower baskets in the area. So if it's, this layer can be switched on and off by the public.
Oh, okay, right, nice.
I've got another one here, which is the CPRE do a competition for the Best Kept Village Award. Don't know if you're aware of that. It's running in Wiltshire, but I think they're all over the country. As part of the submission for it, they make you submit a map. And they were saying that all the maps are rubbish. So we were like, oh, they can use Parish Online. So this layer control, which I've switched on here, allows the member of the public to switch on the layer that they're interested in seeing, or simplify the map as they like. So I can switch off some of the POIs or switch off the footpath. You know, so they've got similar controls to what you have in Parish Online, but much more simplified.
Yeah. But this, you probably need to put a note in to tell them what to do about those, because they won't necessarily recognize it intuitively.
Sorry, what do you mean?
Well, when this black layer appears on their map like that, then
yeah.
Do you think they'll know what to do with it?
Yeah.
Maybe not.
I just don't know how many villages are technophobes, you know, or technophiles.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you're possibly right. I go with the policy of
remembering access requirements as well for our websites.
Sorry?
Remember, we've got access requirements for the websites as well to comply with.
Accessibility requirements.
Yeah.
Yep, you're right. So the problem with accessibility in maps is maps are inherently visual, and they're very difficult to explain in words, which would normally be what you'd do on a website. Is you would say this picture, the alternative text is this is a map of the village showing this, this, and this.
Yeah.
All we can do is have it show a title of what it is. But if you add this into the website, then it still conforms to all accessibility. It's just not a piece of content that everyone can access, which is almost a contradiction, but that's the way it's working, I'm afraid.
Chris, I wonder, you know, when you collapse this, whether the standard menu sign would be a good idea in there. A lot of people are used to that, aren't they?
Yeah, we could change this to the little menu icon. Yeah. You're right. No, so the thing with the public map is that just like Parish Online itself, it will improve over time. So by taking bits of feedback like this and little improvements, it's gone through 2 iterations already since it went live in the summer. So yeah, we'll be putting new bits into it as we go.
Right. I mean, don't go away with thinking we're criticizing it.
No, but we need that criticism. We can sit away in our own little quiet rooms on our own thinking everything's cushy. We need that feedback.
What I really like about this is that it's live. So as we make changes, then the website changes as well, which is brilliant.
Yeah,
Correct.
Absolutely.
And also, if you're not the website technical person and you've asked someone to put an iframe in here, you don't then have to ask them to go and add another link in when you change the configuration of it.
Yeah.
If you just decide that you want to get rid of one of those layers because it's not relevant anymore, you go into this section, you go and make the changes you want, you click save, and all of these links and things stay exactly the same. So it will immediately change on your website.
Brilliant. That is just superb, I think.
So when it comes to publishing information on neighborhood plans, planning applications, whatever it is, then we think public maps are the way forward for this, because it's a really easy way to live communicate information to the public, and they can then go and self-serve. For context, local authorities in like districts and parishes, districts and counties have spent the last 10 years or so trying to find ways for the public not to contact them. And for that, they've created all their fancy websites and interactive viewers and things for it. This is exactly the same thing that you can do. You don't have to wait for the public to ask you something. You can publish that information. It's there available for them straight away. One other example we've been seeing people do recently is, I guess this is a very simple example, quite a contentious one, but we know that a lot of towns, cities, villages are starting to put in what they call low traffic neighborhoods or low traffic networks in order to reduce car usage in the area and increase cycling and walking in the area, which is obviously good news for everyone. And the only way to really do that is to restrict car access. And so in one of my demo sessions, I was using this example where I had the scenario where there was a speed bump here, and it was making cars drive all the way around this residential area to avoid that speed bump. And which you can imagine, as a car user, you would do.
Yes.
So what we're doing here is saying, well, let's put some planters down here, so in the middle of the road to stop traffic coming through this area. It's not going to affect anyone in this residential area adversely, because when they're driving into this area, they're not driving straight out of it. They're driving usually to their house. So there's no downsides there, but it stops unnecessary travel through that little rat run. And so being able to create a public map where you're presenting these ideas to the public, allowing them to get used to it and understand it and engage with it and then implement it, is a much better way of just going plonk, there it is, and deal with it. It's engaging the people with it. Just an idea, a completely made up example. This doesn't happen here, but it was just one example that we see other councils are doing.
It's great.
Go on, Richard.
Yeah, as one of the rural parishes with the largest building site in Europe on it, footpaths and bridleways, we've got some improvements coming along. Is that layer able to be dealt with in a similar way, so that I could put a map of a footpath onto the website?
Yeah, so Somerset County Council have got the
Footpaths are on.
layer coming in. You've got that, but you could create your own layer, create a line layer, which would be your amendments or temporary bypasses or whatever you want to call them, and put them onto a map and then put it onto the website. Yeah, that'd be a really good example, and one that I'd love to put as a case study on our website. When you do it, crack on, get it done.
My counsellor's looking as though she's volunteering for that one. mainly because she suggested it not long ago. Or since
well, the rule is if you suggest it, you've got to do it.
Well done, Jenny.
There's just so many little numbers involved with that application, Richard.
Yeah, I know.
It's not a footpath, it's a whole load of little footpaths that they're closing and rerouting, and
yeah,
and we're going to have a lovely bridleway at the end of it that cyclists will come and enjoy.
Yeah, Sue Jones is the one for that, Richard. She knows all those little numbers and she knows where they are.
Well, we've got a map.
Well, I'll tell you what, when you do it, when you do it, whenever you do it, we'll come and make a thing of it. I'll bring my bikes down and we'll go out for a parish online tour.
I'll charge my e-bike up as we're speaking. 2 seconds. I'm going now.
We'll go out for a cycle. We'll video it. We'll put it on the internet so that people can see how fun it is. We'll show some maps and we'll show the good work that you guys are doing. Because I'm a keen cyclist and I always love to see new cycling routes come in. Just tell me whether I need to bring my road bike or my off-road bike.
I think it's an off-road bike at the moment. No, Graham, we're in line for a new boardman. And about Aston Martins.
Just a bit of feedback to you. In one of our clinics, we discussed the desirability of having the code numbers for footpaths put on Parish Online. Yeah. And you had it up and running about 30 minutes later. So thank you very much. It was great.
Oh yeah, great.
Great.
Brilliant.
Yeah, that was a simple fix. Yeah.
Can I raise the one.network system of reporting diversions and blockages?
Oh yeah,
I saw that. Yeah, can you tell me a bit more about that?
Well, it's a website that various individual councils, I imagine mainly unitary or county, when they have a set of roadworks or something which requires a diversion, they not only put on the actual roadworks, but also the recommended diversion, which is very useful. Now, I imagine that's a commercial thing, so possibly they wouldn't want to share the data with you. But if you take Somerset as an example, then perhaps you could have the data from Somerset, just as they supply it to one.network to do just for Somerset, for example.
So is this coming from the county council?
Yes, because in our case, highways are a county council function.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think Graham mentioned this to me, and it's something that if we can get our hands on as a piece of data, then yes, there's no reason why we can't stream that into Parish Online. I think the problem will be a bit like we were talking about the planning software earlier, is a lot of them create these little closed shops and don't want to share with anyone.
Yeah.
And I think that's really down to the power of the parishes, the districts, the counties not accepting that as an answer. Software shouldn't. We've got such a bad example of suppliers providing closed databases. Put all of your data in here, and oh, by the way, you're not going to be able to access it in anything else. Crack on. It's not a very good way of doing it.
I've been trying to get, for example, street furniture and lighting out of Somerset County Council for 7 years now. And I've got absolutely nowhere.
So Paul, do you think when we got XMAP set up, if you make that request to the county, do you think they'll be more receptive? Because if we do it from you,
possibly we can try, can't we? That's what I can't say any more than that, but yeah, they may be. I mean, I don't know. I mean, the way things are going, obviously we're going to be a unitary authority in some form in the next few years. So yes, I mean, building up to that, our links with counties should get closer as well. So yeah, I'd like to think it would be possible.
Yeah. Okay.
I did actually email one network from the email address or to the email address they gave on their website, and it came back as undeliverable. So they're really didn't help.
Yeah, did you see my comment about the GIS guy at Somerset County Council that you gave me?
Yes, Martin Laker's address didn't work either. Yes. He hasn't answered that one yet, has he?
No.
No. Well, things change, I guess. People move.
Yeah, finding the right person is always the big challenge with these things.
Well, I found the cabinet member for Somerset County Council, but he doesn't seem to want to respond. My local council doesn't push hard enough.
Yeah. Vote for someone else then.
They put off the elections, didn't they?
Yeah.
We were supposed to have the elections last May.
Yeah.
So they deferred them.
But yeah, from our side, we're ready and willing to get some data sharing going. Paul's doing a hell of a lot of good work at the district. There's other districts who we can get on board as well. If we can get someone willing and able at the county, then that's a good way to go. Now, a little bit of insight is a lot of local councils are going, well, district counties, principal authorities have digital transformation officers and digital strategy officers and things who are, their job is to try and connect the dots between various different systems and move people away from legacy old systems. So actually, in some cases, it's not the GIS person you want to talk to. It's someone who's actually a little bit higher doing digital transformation in inverted commas, who should, it's their job to be more receptive to those kind of things. And like Paul's fortunate because he's got a team of people he can talk to and get things done. But it's very oversimplifying, isn't it, Paul? But you know what I mean. But we've had some success in the past by talking to those organizations, those people instead, whose job it is to sort these things out. So I'd certainly try and target some of those instead of going to the traditional GIS or IT person.
Good advice, thank you.
Okay.
How do you find Mendip District Council?
Good. So I've got two good contacts there. They're both in the GIS team, and I'm just flirting with them absolutely heavily to try to get them to switch when their GIS subscription comes up next year. That's all I'm doing at the moment. bit of shameless flirting.
We have a system called Parish Forum,
Oh yeah.
and just before lockdown, the original lockdown, we were going to meet to actually discuss this very thing.
Okay.
And the councillor is actually in control of that. Is in fact our local district councillor. So
Okay.
I'm working on him as well.
Yeah. So for context, what Paul's hopefully going to have installed in South Somerset is pretty much exactly the same sort of product as Parish Online, but we call it XMAP. So XMAP is the kind of big brother software to Parish Online. In terms of functionality and data, they're pretty much the same, but Parish Online is a better word for the things we're doing with local councils. So if you do talk to anyone who's talking about this, then Parish Online and XMAP talk to each other completely. So a local authority would buy XMAP and you guys would buy Parish Online, but they are completely connected. So that would be what I'd suggest is raising that, because the GIS people and the people I've been talking to will know about XMAP and they'll know about Parish Online. And that's the way to go with it. But yeah, in general terms, just on that work that we're doing, we're hopefully going to have a few more local authorities signing up this year, and we're either increasing their capabilities for doing data sharing like this a huge amount, and we're saving a lot of them a hell of a lot of money. Some of them have subscriptions for GIS software ranging into the 40s and £50,000 a year, and so we're saving them. When we're charging £10,000 a year for the entire thing that we do, we're saving them a lot of money. That's one person's job that we've just saved for that. So we're really keen to get the word out there to get more people using it, because we think it's important.
So Chris, when you're helping a council work with data like that, do you charge for your time? And if someone starts talking to us and saying, well, this is going to cost money, can we say, oh no, Chris is fantastic and it's free, so it's even more fantastic?
So the work we've done with South Somerset at the moment, not a single penny has changed hands, because we're working on the assumption that they would subscribe to our software. So we would do the same with any other local authority. Now, if they don't want to, they categorically say that they don't want to use our GIS software, we say, okay, that's fine. If you just want to use it for sharing data to your towns and parishes, then it's also completely free, and there's no consultancy charges or anything at that point.
Right, so no charge for the use of XMAP if all they're doing is translating data, right?
Yeah, because it's not in our interest to charge for that, because it makes Parish Online better as a product. So yeah, it's not our incentive to do that.
Can I come back to the, for want of a better word, showing off system that you produced for the NALC, the toolkit, digital toolkit, I think it was called.
Yeah.
I don't know how difficult it would be to update that.
Yeah.
We don't have anything we can go out and show people, which is up to date, and we've moved on a long way since then.
You're right. It's about 3 years old now, isn't it?
Mm.
There has been talk of doing an update for it, and we keep flitting between updating our own videos and getting that sorted, or doing something more generic for the whole area. So yeah, we're looking at the toolkit now, want to do an update for it. And I think it's an important document because it's as independent as it can be, given that it's written by us and a few other suppliers.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's useful to know. I think it's a good why document, why you should use digital mapping.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll get on to that. Okay.
You're not working hard enough, Chris.
Oh, I know.
Firmly tongue in cheek.
I know. Yeah, so the only other thing I've got to say is we're building a new tool for South Somerset. So if and when they sign up, then we've got a new tool for them to help with their planning team. And what we're thinking is to actually share that down to the parishes as well. I can quickly show you a little example of it at the moment, if you like. Let me just share my screen again. Okay, let me know if you can see that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Great. So this isn't a Parish Online account. This is separate at the moment. But what we've done, so I've switched on. This is just an example, but I've switched on all the accident hotspot layers.
All right.
So there's a layer where there's been recorded accidents. So we get this data from DFT, Department for Transport. So this new tool is called the Constraints Checker. And it would help if I was actually in the right version of the account, because it's not live yet. So constraints in a planning context being whether it's in ancient woodland or whether there's historic landfill sites and all that kind of stuff. But it can apply to pretty much anything. So we want to try and pre-configure some layers that this tool can be used for. So if I load it up, so I can select an area. Let's say I'm going to select the area around this junction. And is it going to show me this? It's not going to work. Crap. Worst demo ever. It's not going to work. Forget that. Basically, it would bring back all of the, a bit like the data extract tool, it would bring back all those accident hotspot records in that area and list them all out by date. So we're thinking about applying that to parishes as well, so that you could use this tool to do a quick analysis of a certain area using a certain number of layers. So you could go and check on ancient woodland, SSSIs, listed buildings, flood zones, for example, and do a quick little lookup. So probably not worth getting into a debate for that now, but knowing the layers that are in Parish Online available to you, it would be useful to know what layers you would consider useful in a check like that. So if you were going to use this to check something for maybe a planning application or some flood risk or whatever it is, what layers would you bundle together to search in one go?
So can we choose an example?
Yeah, go on.
Suppose you've got people who really wish that a crossroads like this would be controlled by traffic lights. And can you bring out all the accident data that shows why traffic lights are necessary? Is that an example, or is that not quite what you're saying?
That's kind of an example. So what it would bring back all of the sort of relevant points in this area. So
and the data gets presented in the same way as a CSV or a spreadsheet?
Yeah, a similar kind of way. We're looking at visualizing it a bit differently, so you don't have to extract it. You can just view it as you go. But yeah, we're certainly looking at that. Would certainly be a good application for it.
But even actually, just that visual diagram is pretty explicit, isn't it? Where you can see all those why it's a good idea to have some sort of traffic control there. Yeah,
you're right.
God, that's the last time I go to Shepton Mallet. It looks really dangerous.
I know.
It's like living in Oxford. You're going to get a murder every week.
Well, the red ones are the bad ones.
Yes.
The yellow ones are silly little ones where someone's had their bumper taken off. But yeah, so it's a tool that I'd like to have been able to show you, but obviously it's not working yet. That we're looking at adding into Parish Online, just so that you can do searches a lot quicker and have a similar tool that the local authorities have.
Chris, that would be ideal for us because we've got lots of building developments with poor roads and we need information like that. So that we would use that definitely.
Okay. Well, these layers are this data is already in Parish Online, ready for you to use now. So go and check it out. It's under.
Oh, right. Okay.
It's under the Department for Transport.
Okay. Lovely.
Yeah. Go and have a play with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's good feedback. Thanks. Okay. Tour works. I went on a school trip there once.
Right.
Shall I? Should we wrap this up then? Is it, or shall I dip out if you've got other things to talk about?
Can I raise
no.
one point?
Yeah.
I was looking at the cemeteries on the Parish Online on our parish, and it struck me that on the base layer there are, to my knowledge, a number of errors.
Okay.
Who do we report those to?
When you say the base layer, do you mean the Ordnance Survey mapping?
Yeah.
Ordnance Survey.
Some of the names of the houses are wrong.
Ordnance Survey.
Right.
They have I think you just have to go through their contact us page, and I think one of the options in there is report an omission or an error.
Right.
You can
Okay.
do that through there. What will happen there is then that feeds back through to an update that then ends up into Parish Online.
Lovely. Thank you.
And what about, for example, allotments that are in the wrong place? We've got a set of allotments in Martock which are no longer allotments and haven't been allotments for a long, long time. They've been sold, but they're still marked on the main map as allotments.
Marked on the Ordnance Survey map?
Yeah.
Ordnance Survey.
Ordnance Survey.
Same answer. Yeah.
Well, it's marked. I suppose it's who's marked it. It's not on the Ordnance Survey map. No. There's a line around it. Somebody has indicated, I think, that it's allotments.
Okay. Have you got the allotment layer switched on?
Yes, I had.
Okay. So it's not on the base layer then. It's on the allotments layer.
Yes, it's on the allotment layer.
Okay, so you can click that and edit it yourself.
Oh, okay.
So you can set it as disused if you want to, or you can delete it.
Yeah. Oh, I'll try that.
Yeah, you've got the freedom to do that, and that's a really good example. Actually, that's a good case of you cleansing that database so it becomes more usable and relevant.
I suppose I can't go and mark an allotment outside my parish. For example, could I go to Long Sutton and mark Graham's garden and label it as an allotment? Do you think is that allowed?
You actually can. I wouldn't recommend growing anything on his land. It's terrible, terrible land. But yes, you can do that. But the clerk in that parish council area will probably notice and delete it. We're going with the assumption that instead of this being a public crowdsource thing, you guys are meant to be responsible. So I'd hope that you wouldn't go and draw anything rude on it.
He's got to work out his grudge somehow.
Yes, but so in your area, if you see omissions or things that are wrong with that allotment layer, then you can edit that and make those changes. Okay. Graham, how do you want to do it now? Back to you.
Okay, well, Chris, thank you on behalf of everybody. Thank you so much for a really fascinating afternoon. It was all that I hoped for and more, so appreciate it.
No worries.
And I don't suppose that anybody has got anything else they want to add, but I'll just give you the opportunity. Going, gone. Well, thank you all very much and see you next time. It was a great session. Thank you.
Great.
Thanks very much, everyone.
Bye.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.